Good morning, everybody, and thanks. The mic's not on? Now it's on? Okay, so it's probably the first time you guys see me here speaking in English, but it's kind of actually the language I spoke the most in my career. So good morning, everyone, and thanks for having us here today. The idea is that we share and learn a little bit here from the experiences of both René and Julie in terms of bringing some international perspective into the discussion, and we'll try also to combine that with the topic that we have today. So, first question. I know you've been here from different times. Julie, you've been here for a little bit more, and you just arrived. But maybe I'll start with you, Julie. Why Portugal, and what were your first impressions coming into the country?
So first of all, is it on? I'm not quite sure yet. Now it's on.
No, it's on.
Thank you for being here and even accommodating that English conversation. I think that helps both of us, because still after 2.5 years in the country, I do understand a lot Portuguese, but speaking is a different thing, right? It's not the easiest language as German, so the same in my case. First of all, I think in terms of why Portugal, I still remember when I was called by Philip Morris and my manager back in Germany at the time, asking me if I would be up for an assignment in Portugal. And I thought, coming from Germany, I don't know if there's someone here in the audience that is from Germany, is almost a rhetorical question, right? Because you have the ocean here, you have the better weather, the sun is shining, so that wasn't, from a personal perspective, a difficult question. I thought it was the jackpot. But then also looking at the Tabaqueira footprint and actually the responsibility for me and the team in Portugal, was amazing, and that's what I learned when I came, because the footprint nowadays already is around 1,500 people, and back at the time, I think most of the people associated the factory with Tabaqueira, and now we have grown and doubled our population over the past years with software engineers, with global services that we are exporting worldwide, with an IT hub, with finance controlling functions, the factory and the market. So just to name a few, because it's kind of extensive, this is a super diverse organization, which is the fun of it, also the complexity. And secondly, super engaged, passionate, and agile. This is something that was my impression when I came to Portugal, and the organization I found, which for me was here and there different too. I don't want to compare with Germany, but there is a different mindset of agility when it comes to driving impact. And I think this is kind of, that journey of Tabaqueira exemplifies actually also that impression I got from Portugal when I came, because it's 100 years old, now has grown so much with more technology, innovation, and these type of things embedded in our organization. So it's a huge transformation also from an organizational perspective. And I feel like there is something around the old meets the new, the tradition meets the new, and this is why I'm saying Tabaqueira exemplifies maybe the feeling I also got sometimes here and there from Portugal. I also feel like Portugal is in that transition or transformation journey with a lot of internationalists coming in, hubs being built, multinationals expanding, right? So for me, thinking about it, I think there is a comparison between the two.
Great. And I lived in Germany. I can confirm. I could say German is even more difficult than Portuguese. René, what about yourself?
I think very, very similar to your view, but maybe I just share a little bit. I am a South African, so yes, the weather did attract me, but South Africa also have pretty good weather. But the last 5 years of my career, I'm actually been in England, so I've been working in our head office in London. And when this opportunity came up, I also thought about, the transformational aspect of this market. If you look also at the telecoms industry and what's busy happening, there's a lot of shift. And with that shift, there's a lot of opportunity and ways of doing things differently. One thing of Portugal, which I find also very fascinating, and one of my first impressions, is the size of the country. So if you think about size of the country, it is for us in telco quite a big number that we play with, and how well the operators do here with quite a small population. And what that means in terms of customer experience and how we innovate and take things to our customers in a completely different way. Where if you look at previous markets I've worked in, like in South Africa, where you sit with a population of 70 million people, and you have consumers on phones, and the scale is just so much different. And I think that's the part that really excited me about this opportunity, and I 100% agree with you. Last night I was also thinking it feels a little bit like the old and the new meeting. It's for me a combination between a European, of course, but also I feel a little bit of the African, innovation, creativity part in the market as well. So for me, that is something that really excited me. And then, of course, I can also say, sitting in London with lots of rain and grey weather, and they said, Renee, there's a job in Portugal. I'm like, I'm there, right? So of course, a beautiful country, and I think just the people, the passion also of the employees. We've got an extremely passionate team in Vodafone. I've never seen people that love the brand so much and that is so engaged in every day. And I think if you have that and you're in this transformational journey, I mean, what a nice place to be.
Yeah, great.
And
great.
maybe if
Sure.
you allow me one comment, because we had this discussion and exchange before, this agility and innovation that might be lacking sometimes, from the, let's say, governmental and authority side. In terms of labor law landscape, for me, it's not a big change, because Germany and Portugal is what I'm feeling is quite similar in terms of the labor law restrictions. But some of the elements driven by authorities, right, doesn't really go with what we were describing, the new meets the old, innovation, agility. Yeah.
Yes, I would. It's 4 months for me, right, that I've been in Portugal. So really first impressions. But I would hope that there is like strong partnerships, right, with governments and with municipalities, and how you actually drive all of these innovations forward. So yes, I do see the little bit I've seen so far does feel quite restrictive and quite an old way, not really enabling organizations to bring in right talent, to restructure the organization, to really be at the forefront of looking at your world in a different way. So looking forward to think about how that partnership could evolve in future, and how we could play a role in giving some external perspectives, right?
Yeah, that's something we sometimes discuss. The legislation is indeed quite restrictive, similar to Germany, very different from the UK. And sometimes you have to also be creative. I think some of these constraints also sometimes foster creativity and entrepreneurship within people. And I think, that's sometimes something that can be associated to Portuguese people as well. So I also lived in London. I confirm the weather is way better here. So it's a totally different place. But what about the role of HR? Because this is also something that we discuss a lot. When we're all here, most of us are professionals in the area. So from your experiences, why do you think it's important that HR really sits at the table, that is part of the decision making, and that is also a transformational element within organizations? So let's stay with you, Renee. What can you say about that?
I think for me, if I have to think back of your career, I think we were called at that stage like personnel management or something, right? So really administrative, way back. And I think that the world has changed and the world has shifted so dramatically. And I see HR as number one, right? You have to be next to your CEO with all strategic decisions. When that company strategy is being written or decided on, you need to have the seat right at the right-hand side of that of your CEO. And the reason why is because the world is shifting. And I see HR as being a true commercial partner to the board with the focus on people, right? And I think that's, for me, the big shift that we need to think about in also how we lead. It is really understanding your organization, understanding the market, the industry, the shifts that happens, what's happening globally, geopolitics, technology, which is a big one for today, AI. I mean, we know it's taking over the world, right? There's no secret there. But you have to really, really understand all of those factors. And then the difficult part is to think how your employee and the human being will react with all of that happening and all of that change happening around. And if you are not sitting next to your CEO in crafting that strategy, I think it will be super difficult to develop your talent and be ready to whatever shift you need to focus in the marketplace. One of the key things that we are doing here, and also one of the examples I can share, is that talent is now part of our strategic decision. It is on a monthly, in the board meeting, monthly board meetings, we look at talent, we look at people, we understand, do we have the right people, do we have the right bets that we are placing in the organization, are we setting ourselves up for this change and evolution we are going on. So for me, that is it's a critical part, but it's also to step out of that, I'm just the HR person, right? It's not. You're not just the HR person. You are a part of the ExCo. Yeah. You're a commercial person, but, with people is your main focus. Yeah. So for me, that is the big shift that I've seen in most of the markets.
No, you just said all. You're part of the ExCo, so you're part of the decision making, and I think that's fundamental for the organization. Julie, what do you think?
So I was reflecting on it, and I think in my situation with Philip Morris, and I think it might be similar with Vodafone being part of a multinational, this business partnering role of HR, or what we even call people and culture, since a couple of years has been there for a while. Even back then, I think when I started 12 years ago. And actually, originally, I'm a lawyer, so for me, it was even that going with that evolution. But if I reflect further about business partnering, what does it even bring as value for the business, right? Apart from what Renee was describing, I'm thinking of the societal trends. I think nowadays is very different to what people bring into the company and what are the expectations. It's not only going to work and being paid at the end of the month. I think people are looking at what are the values of the company, what is the culture, how about sustainability, ethics, these type of things, well-being, flexibility, and being very much driven by, the discussions in society. That's at least what I feel, and what I also feel Philip Morris is looking at in that strategic way. And who can bring that to the table in a management team and with the CEOs and the MDs than HR? Because we are close to the people. So for me, that is one super critical element, because I think it also drives the strategy apart from the commercial proximity to the business and what HR needs to do. The second element is, if I reflect on the different streams within HR, like learning development, attraction of talent acquisition, etc., you can approach it in the way that, if we picture it now, you can approach it in a way that you get a request, there is a business need for resources, you go out to the market, you recruit. But this is rather reactive, right? If you business partner, if you take a strategic role that, for example, in our case, expanding global functions, bringing international people, bringing skills like AI hubs, software engineers. Even for me, that is a new field. You might want to think about the strategy of how you approach the talent attraction. How do you even bring people from the outside? How do you bring the right skills, and how do you prepare the people with the right skills also for tomorrow, right? And this for me makes this business partnering on top of what René was describing, that of course you bring it to life once you sit at the table. If you don't sit at the table,
You can't do it.
it doesn't make sense. And if you allow me, just maybe also one other example is, and we share this with the talent agenda, and that means something, that talent is so central, and I was happy to hear Vodafone is thinking about the same. We might even get into competition, or we discussed on the market, but I think what we are doing, for example, at the moment is one of my top priorities is making sure that you have a sustainable talent pipeline. If you think about sustainability of talent pipeline of skills, it is naturally into the future, right? So we do a lot around also putting the right mindset within our organization, not only offering learning and development, but really have growth as one value within our ethics. And this, of course, brings a lot of different activities within the organization and making sure that development really happens with the right mindset and ownership. So
great. So maybe I'll just pick up on a topic that you mentioned. I mean, it's the topic of the conference today, you know, emotions, technology, humans, robots. What do you think the role of technology is in this transformation with the role of HR? So how can the function evolve so that we can leverage what the technology brings, but we keep, you know, the organization being centered on people, on humans? Because I mean, that's the job, right? So how do you see that in your companies?
So what I felt, even, I mean, also talking about like impressions in Portugal when I came, and I was mentioning that diverse footprint we have with the factory, with the different functions. It's somehow already, like in most of the functions, it's very embedded. I mean, one thing is, of course, and we also discussed this earlier, that we have Copilot and these kind of tools that, you know, make the people embark on the journey already in the company and in a global rollout. Another thing is that you really embedded in the functions itself. And of course, if I have an IT hub on site, it also comes naturally, right? Because I have software engineers, the development, AI. So it's actually nicely embedded into the organization, even as a cross collaboration. We even, I mean, just to give an example and inspiration also for you, we are organizing AI hackathons. And it's people that are coming together from the different functions with a use case to discuss and to bring to the table and then potentially even develop. So I think that helps understand that AI gives you a purpose as well. It's not about replacement of positions. It gives you added value. It can bring you solutions at the same time. It releases you for other things because, I mean, you might have it as well with survey analysis. I can put data, and this is a nice help for HR. I can put data in a system. You get an analysis, but the real employee listening needs to happen, qualitative data to drive the right actions and strategies. So for me, this is a good example of where can we be strategic, being freed up from not so productive work, and where can we have tools that help us and our people to drive value.
Okay, good. René, what about Vodafone?
Maybe I share just what I've seen in Vodafone from a global perspective that I thought was, it's quite amazing if you think about the scale. So in my previous role before I moved to Portugal, I partnered with our CTO, global CTO, and it was quite a nice role to be in because you sat next to the CTO making all the decisions on technology and tools, and you are the people person, right? And it was really good to be able to connect those two. And at the point, Scott decided that, we're going to be bold and we are rolling out AI tools to 50,000 people. So we were not restricting any development or anything. We decided it's all inclusive. Everyone needs to have access to AI tools. And at the point, I think it was in last year, February, we had about 350 interactions per month with it. And last month, how it's built over the last 18 months, we have now 7 million interactions per month of our employees actually using AI. So this is for us now thinking about our 2030 strategy around how important AI integration is in our employees and in our everyday life. And the thinking is that there's going to be two things. You're either going to use AI or you're going to develop and build AI. So that's how we see it in our organization. And for us, it is to evolve with it. It's about augmentation. I agree with you. So definitely how we get our people to partner with it in the right way, free up for more human interaction, for more listening, for more the people side, because people still want the people things, right? They don't all want all of it on AI. And then, of course, there's the highly personalization part. If you think about the great tools we're all putting out to our customers, right? You have AI pushing everything to you on a daily basis. And you can do that for your employees as well, right? Your employees, your leaders. There's endless opportunities of how you can use it also internally. And then I think a big thing for me on AI is that HR needs to lead on this. It's also around our own infrastructure, our own systems, our own digitalization, and then, of course, with AI, on how we design our functions and how we set it up. So really good, very successful case studies together with Vodafone and Microsoft, right? And how we partnered again to bring this to life for our people. So partnerships also very key in doing this, right? There's some really great examples you can use from these tech companies.
Great. Listen, we're 45 seconds to go. So I would just say, thanks a lot for your fantastic contributions. I totally agree. I think it's about augmenting, humans. It is about leveraging the benefits of technology and trying to use that to create more value for organizations, and the partnerships, as you mentioned, they are fundamental. You even see that in the AI industry as a whole. So it's the only way to kind of, win together in a very challenging context. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot, everybody, for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.